The following program is sponsored by Friends of Life Outreach International. Coming up on Life Today, Sheila Walsh, James and Betty, and health expert Jordan Rubin reveal the health benefits from natural remedies found in God's creation.
And I was told by a medical professional, and then another one, that you have terminal cancer and you're going to die if you don't do it this way. I did it God's way. I never looked back. They say 5 years is a cancer cure. This is 12 years, and best of all, I've brought people with me.
Hi, welcome to Life Today. I'm Sheila Walsh, and I'm so glad that you are joining me here today. One of the things I wanted you to know is that we really care about you here. We care about your relationship with the Lord. If you don't have one, then that's one of the things we love to share with you. But we also care about you and your health. You know, we live in a culture where there's so many messages out there about, you know, don't do this and do that, and things kind of seem to come in cycles. They'll tell you shouldn't eat fat, and then you should eat fat, and it can be really, really confusing. Well, we have a couple of friends at Life who have a real commitment to their kind of people who've been with us quite regularly and shared the things that God has shown them that made a difference in their life. And honestly, I didn't know too much about Jordan Rubin's own story. I knew that James and Betty had interviewed him in the past, and so I went online and I did a little research, and his story is absolutely amazing. The way that God has used very natural remedies to bring tremendous healing to his body. And so James and Betty had a chance to sit down with him not so long ago and bring some fresh information. And I'm going to tell you toward the end of the program how you can get hold of a copy of this book for yourself. It's called Natural Remedies, Ancient Nutrition, and I find it fascinating. In fact, I went straight out and I bought a couple of the things that he was talking about in this book, and I'm looking forward to using them. It's a great conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it, so please watch this.
Well, Jordan Rubin is back with us. I couldn't believe it. He said it was 13 years ago. My goodness, we must have been so young. We are. Hey, listen, he came in and talked about the Maker's Diet. He came back and talked about your journey to wellness. But boy, it's been a while since he's been here. And he's been to hell and back in some ways, because he's had to fight something nobody wants to fight. But because of the fight, he's able to help a lot of people win. Natural remedies. In the back of this book, this is amazing. Every one of the products, natural products, is listed, and where you find what it does, the page, and listen, this is unlike any book. It's just magnificent. It's not only, everything is just laid out where you can read about how things work. Here's one on weight gain and obesity and essential oils: cinnamon, grapefruit, ginger, black pepper. My goodness, all the different oils that work. I mean, it's the most amazing that we want to give you this. We've been through hell with this pandemic. The whole world has been. And yet we've got a body that God has said is his temple. And we need to take care of it. We haven't done a good job. We've hurt the temple of God. But now then we realize, okay, we can actually, Betty, we're now going toward our late 70s. I mean, we've been here a long time. We're on our way for a century. And we want to be strong, because we want to point people to the healer and to the answer, and that's what we're doing. Well, man, we're learning, and I'm excited about it. And Jordan Rubin's come back to bless us, even though, like I said, he's been to hell and back. But he's also had some really great things happen when he came out on the other side of hell with the challenges, but also something's happened in the family. I mean, tell us about the children. Jordan Rubin is here. We're just everybody's standing and clapping all over the place. Jordan, we're just so glad to see you. What's happened with the family's growth?
Yes, well, when I was here last time, my wife and I had one amazing son, Joshua, and since we've added 5 adopted children from age 7 to 22. And when we entered that amazing fraternity that you know well of bringing a child into our home. The good news is there's no biological clock there. So people say, are you done? And we say, we've never turned one down yet. So the Lord's brought us some amazing kids. And it's been a challenge, but what I can tell you is understanding natural health and how we're able to help people physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. There's not a day, there's not an hour that goes by where I'm not using a natural remedy that we write about in this book for a boo-boo, for a headache, for a sniffle. I mean, it list goes on and on. So we're extremely blessed to have tools to raise these children to be world changers, because every one of them have trauma, whether it was in the womb, knowing what it's like to be unwanted, whether it was being raised by someone who didn't properly have the tools to care for them. So every one of our children has struggles, and we have been able to work through them by God's grace and His provision, which is part of the natural remedies He's given for all of us.
You know, if this audience could be here, they would have interrupted what you were saying with applause for your love for the children who've been challenged. And I mentioned you've been to hell and back, and it wasn't because you got a house full of kids. It can make sometimes life seem like hell. But the point is you've had a disease that most people never want to hear. Tell us about it.
Well, a year after our last program, I was on a one-year tour in a 45-foot bus like you'd travel to do concerts. I was doing seminars, ministering in churches, doing book signings, and recording a TV program for Christian television. And during this time, the middle of it, we'd already been to 150 cities. I started to experience some pain, and I thought it was a hernia. We were about to tape a program with professional athletes. I was going to get involved and pretend I could hang with them. I was all excited, but I was being held back. And I ended up going to a physician, told him I thought I had a hernia. He agreed, but he said, you may want to have a little exploration when they fix that hernia. And I remember being wheeled out from the hernia surgery, and my mom was there, and I didn't remember her coming to the hospital. This was kind of a minor thing, and the doctor said, you have cancer. Now, mind you, I had written a book on cancer the year before. I'd helped people with cancer, coached them, and my world was rocked. But I thought, well, perhaps it was a surgery that removed whatever was there, and it's kind of a long story how this occurred, but I went to the oncology appointment with my wife, and the doctor laid this out, and I said, I believe God's going to heal me naturally and supernaturally. I'm not going to go the conventional route. And he looked me and my wife in the face and said, if you don't do conventional treatments, there is a 100% chance you will be dead in 3 months. Not 98, not 50, and instead of just wailing or shrinking down, the doctor left the room to go get some paperwork, and I told my wife to stand at the door, and I got on my face, and I quoted something that I have probably a dozen times before, Job chapter 1, verse 21, and I said, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And I did that because Job, and his reaction to losing everything, was to get on his face and say, you are God, and I don't understand this, but I'm going to give you glory, and whatever happens, it's in your hand. And I'll never forget that. I call it Job's prayer, and I've done it, as I said, about a dozen times when insurmountable odds, the sucker punch, the life gets sucked out of you. You don't know what else to do, and you just go to your knees. And I then began a 40-day journey in physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional wellness. I put everyone and everything out of my life that represented anything contrary to God's word. And I stopped praying, Lord, if it's your will to heal me, and started saying, Lord, by your stripes, I am healed. I had a great team at my company at the time, and I sat them down. Some were believers, some weren't. And I said, here's what I'm going through. And they freaked out. And I said, God has healed me. He's going to manifest it. They didn't understand the words, but I started praying, and I put together a compilation of scriptures that I prayed 3 times a day to put the devil on notice and give God the offering to heal me. I disconnected from work, spent 12 to 14 hours a day with the right foods and detoxification protocols. I forgave everyone I needed to and asked for forgiveness for those that I needed to. I dealt with past memories. It was a comprehensive program, and I had joy and peace and faith 97% of the time. I was very convicted to be followed by physicians. I got regular blood work done, scans at the same radiology center, because I wanted this to be a documented miracle. And when I would get a phone call from the lab director, I would look at my cell phone, and every time my hand would shake. It was like I was walking on water until that call came. And I could list so many instances that I probably had more joy than someone who had a huge house and had everything. And here I was facing a death sentence, but I determined, I chose life. I didn't understand a lot about what happens and what could happen, but I knew one thing, that God had a plan for me, and I continued to confess what I believed and what I wanted to happen. We're so quick to talk about what we don't want to happen. We talk about our disease more than our healer. We talk about our challenges more than our victory. And I just decided I'm going to set all that aside, and I'm going to move forward with God. One thing that I did that I'm so excited to share with your partners and viewers, in this Natural Remedies book, the Lord gave me this, I'll call it a body therapy, and I call it By His Wounds. And we take essential oils that you could buy in any store. These are herbs and spices. And it requires another person to be with you, because the power of human touch is amazing. Someone you love, and you put drops of oil on all of the places where Jesus was pierced or where He was wounded. You end with 39 strokes on the back, 40 lashes minus 1, while you play worship music. And I'm getting chills. I did this 40 consecutive days, had somebody do this for me for hours. And I fought. And I told only a small group of people, because I was already an author, already had a company and an audience, but I couldn't even handle the weightiness of people's prayers. When people wanted to wish me well, or when people were concerned about, well, are you sure you should do this? And are you sure you shouldn't do that? We had just adopted 2 children. They were 3 months old. I had a 3-year-old at the time. And I was told by a medical professional, and then another one, that you have terminal cancer and you're going to die if you don't do it this way. I did it God's way. I never looked back. They say 5 years is a cancer cure. This is 12 years, and best of all, I've brought people with me. There's a man that I met a year later, introduced by a good friend of ours, John and Lisa Bevere, pastor in California, who was 50% chance of dying, had a massive church in California, young man, wanted to see God's purposes in his life. He followed the program, and now today, some years later, he's healthier than he was when he was diagnosed. And there's a lot that I don't understand, James and Betty, and I was talking to Bruce backstage. I've held a good friend in my arms doing CPR while he breathed his last breath, while his newborn first child was 3 days away from being born. I don't understand it, and I never will in this life. But what I do know is, as long as I'm breathing, and as long as someone watching has a will to live, there's hope. And this Natural Remedies book is really a combination of physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional healing, whether you're dealing with toenail fungus or multiple sclerosis. There is hope. But beyond the natural remedies, the giver of life, He desires for us to live our fullest. And I don't know how many days that is, but I'm going to go kicking and screaming until it's time. And I want to be standing like Moses at 120 years of age, with my eyes bright and my strength still within me. I want to be like Caleb at 85. I'm 45 now. This is pretty cool. So I quote this every morning. I will be stronger at 85 years of age than when I was at 45, because that's what Caleb said when he went to conquer 40 years. So I said, I'm going to be the strongest I've ever been at 45 to set the bar high for 85. It's possible, and everyone wants it. It's time to take hold of it. I had my back against the wall. Not everyone watching does. Maybe there's a small challenge. Maybe your child has ADD or autism. There's hope, and there's healing. And it starts with the healer.
I want to just say thanks. I need to talk to you a minute. He's not giving you a perfect formula. He's not giving you the guaranteed cure. He's talking about the perfect person. He's talking about the power in the person we trust. Not a formula, not a practice. He's giving you things that he did that were in themselves even a testimony by the oils on the wounds. But it was a trust that, by his stripes, his wounds were healed. He just simply said, in my journey, the Lord took me here. And we lost a daughter to cancer. Never knew anybody that believed God more than she did. I couldn't help but find myself thinking, I wish she could have heard this. I wish she could have known it. And I really do. But she's looking down right now. If my daughter could shout something to all of us, she'd say, Mom and Dad, tell them don't miss this. I'm seeing my little grandbaby girls. And I'm rejoicing forever. But listen to Jesus, not Jordan or James or Betty. And just know there are things that God does use to heal us. And I'm just telling you, I don't know what you're going through, but boy, this guy's been through it. I mean, we've been through suffering. Betty and I know what it is to have a broken heart and to fight challenges and help people fight them. But I am telling you right now, if I could just pull you up, I would want you to hear what Jordan heard. I'm going to get God's arms around me, and I'm going to walk it out, and I'm not going to put people down if they go a different journey. And if this doesn't end the way I want, please don't put me down, because I'm lifting him up. That's all he's doing. That's what the natural, God-given, supernatural remedies from the natural. I hope and pray you get these natural remedies. Jordan, if our audience was here, they'd be standing and shouting, thanks be to God for your testimony. I'm praying that what happened to you will happen to hundreds and even thousands, if not millions of people watching. Your whole life's changed.
Pretty interesting stuff. I think it'll make a real difference. And for any gift at all, we'll be happy to send you Jordan's book, Natural Remedies, Ancient Nutrition. But one of the things that I'm very aware of, because I've been given the privilege of being on so many of our Water for Life trips, is what it is like for moms, for families in an area of the world where there is no access to clean water. You think of it as the most basic human need. And yet I've watched these mothers who will get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and walk for a long, long distance only to be able to get water from a hand-dug well. And I had no idea how bad these wells were until I saw my first 2 or 3 there, probably only about 6 feet deep. And the water is filthy. And watching the moms bring this water up, and that's the only thing they have to offer to their children, it was just horrifying. So many of the places I've watched children drink from, it takes everything in me to hold back and not want to stop them. But I realize I have no right to stop them unless I've something better to give them. And that's been a passionate concern at Life for many, many years. We want to be able to drill 350 new wells this year. Now, many of you have helped us in the past, and we're so, so grateful, because I can tell you, when you've been to a village where there's no clean water, and then you get to drive to a village, and I'll never forget the first time I saw this pump given by viewers of Life Outreach International. It's like I wanted to dance. So I want you to be part of it. We all get to do this together. So please watch this, and then I'm going to tell you how you and I can make a difference.
The far corners of the world frame a beautiful picture of God's creation and the unique people created in His own image. And as you visit different countries, you're sure to see many different cultures and customs. But even in the midst of this diversity, there is one commonality shared by all: the need for water. We need water to grow our food. We need water to care for our animals. And we ourselves need to drink water to survive. But unfortunately, many people around the world don't have access to clean water. The only water they have available is contaminated, and it's the children that suffer the most from waterborne diseases.
La niña a mí se me murió de infección en los riñones y de diarrea. Y esa agua está contaminada, pero esa es la única agua que hay aquí.
ចាខ្ញុំខ្វះទឹកតាំងពីក្មេងរហូតមកទល់រាល់ថ្ងៃនៅតែខ្វះទឹកប្រើទឹកអត់ស្អាតប្រើទឹកច្រាស់គ្រួសារនិយាយទៅមិនថាគ្រួសារខ្ញុំគ្រួសារគ្រប់គ្នាទាំងអស់ឈឺរាករូសអញ្ចឹងទាំងអស់
Just as the problem of contaminated water is the same around the world, so is the solution. You can help drill new water wells in many different countries and provide clean water to hundreds of thousands of people. Clean water changes everything. Clean water saves lives.
Wow, beautiful. But the contrast, because I've been in both, I've seen both. I've seen what it looks like when these children, I mean, you saw that in that spot, that kind of water that you literally would not give to your dog. And that's all these children have. And, you know, sometimes it's hard where we live to get perspective of what it's really like because, I mean, I'll think of like the flight of DFW airport and I'll go into the store and I'll buy a bottle of water and I'll stick it in my backpack. And within a few hours, well, quite a few hours, I'm landing in another country. And, you know, we're drilling water wells in over 20 nations. But so often we'll get into, you know, some kind of truck and drive for hours. And suddenly you realize how drastic the situation is because there is nothing. There's no clean water. I mean, women get up and walk for an hour or two in the morning just to get to the kind of water hole that you saw in that spot with water that they know potentially could kill their children. I mean, it's a horrible choice. Nobody in this day and age should have to struggle with the fact that they cannot provide their children with clean drinking water. It's just like a basic human need. And that's why I'm so grateful to be able to tell you that we can do something to change it. You know, it's our prayer, you know, with Jordan's book, with, you know, we pray that God is going to bless you in this year, perhaps with some of the greatest health you've had in your life. That's our prayer for you. We want you to be well and strong, to be able to serve Jesus for all the days of your life. But our other prayer is out of that a compassionate heart would spring, where you would say, I'm not just saved for myself. I'm saved to make a difference. We are Christ's hands and feet on the earth at this moment. He said, I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. You know, sometimes I've heard people say, I wish there was something I could do for the Lord, but I can't travel overseas. Here's something you could do for the Lord. You could reach out and help. Do you know that for $48, that would provide clean drinking water for about 10 people for their life? Perhaps you can do something more. Maybe you can do $144, and that will provide 30 people with clean drinking water. Some of you might be able to actually drill a whole well. Wouldn't that be amazing? It's very, I mean, $4,800. That will provide clean drinking water for about 1,000 people, about a whole village for their whole life. For any gift at all, please request your copy of Natural Remedies, Ancient Nutrition. For your gift of $48, we will send you the blessing of taking communion. This is a fabulous book, and it talks about the blessings of remembering the sacrifice that Jesus made. We want you to be well, but we want to answer the cries of these moms. So please, go to your phone, call that number on your screen, give the very best gift you can. 350 wells in over 20 nations. That's what we want to do. Let's go beyond that. Let's make a difference in Jesus' name.
Across the globe, hundreds of thousands of lives are lost each year to waterborne disease, and nearly half of those are children under the age of 5. Through Mission Water for Life, you can give mothers hope and children a future as we provide clean, life-giving water for thousands of children and their families before it's too late. With your gift today, you can help drill and establish 350 water wells this year. Your gift of $24 will help provide clean water for 5 children. A gift of $48 will help provide for 10. $72 will provide for 15, and $144 will help provide life-giving water for 30 people for a lifetime. With a gift of any amount, we'll send you Natural Remedies. This beautifully illustrated book explores ancient nutrition and the health benefits found in God's creation, a valuable reference with biblical insight to help you live your best life. With your gift of $48 or more, we'll also send you The Blessing of Taking Communion, a companion book to help feed your soul and remind you of the transformative power of receiving the Lord's Supper. Finally, please consider a gift of $1,200 to help provide water for 250 people, or a gift of $4,800 to help sponsor a complete well, and request our new inspiring bronze sculpture, Consider the Birds, inspired by Jesus' words in Matthew 6:26. Please call, write, or make your gift online today.
14 years ago, God brought Jordan Rubin into my life. His principles are real, they're proven. I'm the evidence of it.
And within about a week, I noticed huge inflammation reduction. I noticed I wasn't stiff after my morning hike. It was amazing.
Following Jordan Rubin's principles has transformed our health and our immune system.
His teaching and his guidance have made an incredible change in my life and my family's life.
Thank you so, so much. And if the lines are busy, please keep calling. Let's do this. Let's determine that this year we're going to make a difference in Jesus' name. We can choose something every week that we could skip so that we can make a difference. To be able to provide clean water in a village, literally, it's giving life. That's why we call it Water for Life, because that's what it brings. And for any gift at all, ask for your copy of Jordan's book. For your gift of $48, we will send you The Blessing of Taking Communion. So from all of us here at Life, thank you so much. We love you. We'll see you next time.
Are you concerned about keeping your family well equipped to manage your resources when you pass away and leaving a lasting legacy? Contact Life Planning Services today. Life Today is made possible by the supporters of Life Outreach International. Your gift will be used exclusively for the exempt purposes of life. The ministry features specific outreaches as examples of the programs it supports and conducts. Gifts are considered to be without restriction as to use unless explicitly stipulated by the donor. The ministry is a member of the ECFA.